Hi, welcome to BFS Wargaming. It's Patrick here, and we're going to talk about a rules update for Kill Team. So I've done the How to Play series. If you haven't seen that, then check it out. There's 5 episodes, and it goes through how to play Kill Team for beginners. So this is like a rules update. If you've watched that, so we've had the big FAQ 2 that came out, and it's made some changes to Kill Team. So there's a lot of questions answered. And there's also some errata, so some changes to the rules. And then we have the Rogue Trader that's come out, which has a few rules in it. And also we have now the new Kill Team commanders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the big FAQ 2 first, and then we're going to go on to talk about Rogue Trader, and then finally we're going to talk about commanders. So I will timestamp each one, and so you can skip to the point that you want to skip to if you don't want to listen to one or two of the topics in this video. So like I said, if you haven't seen the How to Play and you haven't played Kill Team, go and watch that first, because this is just a rules update, just telling you what's changed. And there's nothing drastic, but there's just some new things in there and some new changes, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so the big FAQ 2. So we'll start on the errata, which is like the rules changes. So there's nothing in there that's massively different. It's a lot of stuff that they've reworded things just so it can't be misconstrued and things like that. I'd definitely take a look yourselves and see if there's anything that's applicable to you. They have also done changes to factions as well. So again, I mean, I think there's quite a few Tau changes. There's some Adeptus Society changes. I saw a change with Death Watch, Grey Knights, something to do with the Scions as well. I mean, I play Necrons mainly in Kill Team, and the only change I saw for them was that 6s now always proc Tesla, so you're always going to get the Tesla go off on a 6, whereas before it was a 6+. So with all the minuses to hit in Kill Team, that was then stopping that going off a lot. But you could like give it pluses and then make it go off on a lower number, so you could make it go off on a 4 or 5, but now it's just a 6. It's just always going to go on a 6, and obviously that is just for Kill Team. I saw one for Zangors in there, so have a look for your faction. A lot of these again are just clarifications or maybe slight changes on war gear and what you can take, or maybe it'll be a change like with the Necrons, a slight change to the weapon profile. And these are things just to help balance the game, and maybe things that they missed when they were doing the rule book, and they've had to just put that in there. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is the designer's commentary. So basically this is people have asked questions and said, what happens if this and this happens? And then the designers of the game have answered. Now, there's like 5 pages of this, I believe. 5 to 7 pages, and there's a lot of things in there. A lot of it is just things that we've gone over in the How to Play Kill Team. So a lot of it is just normal people asking things that I feel are fairly obvious, so I'm not going to cover all of these. The one thing I like, so there's 2 things. One of them isn't in there, but I haven't, I keep forgetting. I do know it's a rule, but I keep forgetting the rule. And that is, if you're obscured, when when the enemy takes you down to 0 wounds and does the injury roll, if you're obscured, you get +1. So that means that you'll get a flesh wound on a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Instead of going out of action on a 4, you have a flesh wound on a 4. So remember that modifier when you're doing it. So that means if you're obscured and you have a flesh wound, 3 is still another flesh wound. I have played a lot of Kill Team, and I just keep completely forgetting that rule. So it's one that I've got to try and burn into my brain to make sure I remember it. And then there was another thing that was in there which I didn't realise. It sort of seemed strange to me, because I felt like if you were going first, this would put you at a disadvantage. So I thought, when you're in combat, if you go first in the movement phase, if you fall back, I thought that person could then charge you again. So whoever you fell back from, I thought they could charge you again. But it makes sense that you can't. So obviously I'm telling you about this rule because it's a rule that I've been getting wrong, so other people might have been getting it wrong. So because you started in combat, or you were within 1 inch of another model at the beginning of the movement phase, that means the only things you can do are fall back or be stationary. Now, fall back, you can still move forwards when you fall back, but you can't. So what that means is, if you were to stay stationary and not fall back after someone else fell back, if you had a gun, you could then use it in the shooting phase, because that is a new phase. So that phase, you wouldn't have started within 1 inch of a model. So then, if someone's fallen back from you and you have a gun, you can then shoot them. But you can't charge them that turn. You could charge them with a different model if they've fallen back, but not the model they fell back from, because obviously that model started within 1 inch at the beginning of that phase. So that really clarified for me. So there's some other things. I mean, there's a lot of Q&As in there. Oh, the other thing they made changes on the errata was like flip belts. So they put some stuff in there. Fusion pistols are now not, you don't roll 2d6 for the damage. It's only 1 if they're in half range. They obviously thought that was in such a close, confined game that it was a bit too overpowered. So there's a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot of questions, and they might be questions that you've thought, oh, I wonder if that's that way or that way. So go and have a look at the designer's commentary, because like I said, I couldn't go through it all. There's a lot of questions in there, but there's some that are good questions. They clear up stuff, like for me with the charging after falling back and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been really good. So what we're going to do now is go on to talk about Rogue Trader and Commanders. So we'll talk about Rogue Trader first. Okay, so we're going to talk about Rogue Trader. Now, there's not loads of rules or difference in rules for Rogue Trader. So because the two Rogue Trader kill zones are very different to what we've seen in terms of they are indoors, if you like. So one of them is a shrine and the other one is a ship. So there's some things that they clarify which are sort of common sense, like you can't fly over walls. Okay, so because it's indoors, obviously we can't see the ceiling, but there is a ceiling there, so you can't fly over walls. And there's some things about close confines and the visibility and how you do that, because obviously if you're using the board, the walls aren't there, they're just lines on the thing, but so it tells you how to gauge whether you can see a model and things like that. I prefer to play with the complex terrain from Mad Gaming Terrain, which you can then put up walls, and I just prefer that because I feel more, you know, involved in that, immersed into that when you've got walls rather than not having walls. So there is a cool rule in there though, which is about doors, which I think, you know, especially with me using the complex terrain and going forward, I think doors and stuff like that are a really cool thing to add into it. And obviously doors are in the in both of those kill zones, the ship and the shrine. So there's rules for the doors. So basically you have to be an infantry model, okay, to open a door. Most models in Kill Team Infantry, I think like the Gellerpox Mutants probably have a couple that are like swarm models, so they can't open and close doors. So basically you have to either start your move phase within 1 inch of the door and not move, or you have to end a normal move in to that door. Okay, so I actually hadn't read this rule before. I've recently done a campaign which had doors in it, but we actually didn't read this rule. But I'll obviously be playing it from now on. So yeah, this is a cool, I think quite a cool rule. So basically you can't advance, you can't be readied, you can't fall back to the door. You have to just do a normal move to the door, end within 1 inch of it, and then at the end of that movement phase, if you've either stayed within 1 inch of it or moved to within one inch of it on a normal move, you can then open the door. However, if there is a model within 1 inch on the other side, an enemy model, and he doesn't want the door to open, you then have to have roll off. Now, you roll off, and whoever wins the roll off then decides whether the door is going to stay closed or whether it is going to open, which is a really good idea, I think. I really like it. I think it's really cool. And then also in Rogue Trader, they go on to talk about mixing kill zones. So obviously when you're playing 4-player games, you use 2 boards because you need the extra space. So how they've done this, because the ship and the shrine are very different to the kill zones, the other kill zones that are a lot more out in the open, they're outdoors. They specify that if they're together, you can use the shrine, because it actually has a bit on there which is the entrance, and you have to put that bit to the other board, and then it basically says models that are within the shrine and are fighting within the shrine use the shrine rules, and they can use tactics from that. But if they are in any other kill zone, they're obviously using the kill zone rules from that. Again, just clarifying that, it's good to know. I'm glad they've clarified it. So within Rogue Trader, it was the first time that we saw commanders. So you had Lucia Vane and the thrice cursed guy, who I've forgotten his first name. Volgar, thrice cursed. So they're the two commanders in that box set. But what I'm going to do is, because they do talk about commanders in Rogue Trader, but it's also all in commanders, so I'm going to leave it and we're going to talk about it all in the commanders. So yeah, I'm going to go over to the commanders and we're going to talk about that. Okay, so Kill Team Commanders is the newest expansion to Kill Team when this video was made, and I like it. I know there's been a bit of mixed feelings on Kill Team Commanders. I think it adds something else, because sometimes, some of the kill teams are quite limited in the troops they get to take. This adds some variety, and obviously, there's missions that are actually made for commanders, and we know that commanders are going to be very strong, and it will be harder to bring balance to the game when you have such strong units in it. But hopefully they've done a good job of the points costing of all of these things, and we may well see FAQs, or maybe in chapter approved, things like that. We may see changes where they think that, they've got feedback and they realise that something's not balanced. But I just think it's really good to mix things up. You don't always have to play with commanders. Like, it's not like now commanders has come out, you have to have a commander in your kill team. I mean, obviously if someone else has got a commander, they'll have to pay the points for it, and you could try it and see if that's then balanced. If you have a kill team without a commander, a kill team with a commander, and say it's 150 points or 200 points, and have a battle. I mean, there is missions like that in there anyway, so you can then see if it's imbalanced or not. For me, I think the most imbalanced thing about Kill Team is the psychic phase. And it's not just because I play Necrons. It's just such a powerful phase. And now there's more commanders. There's going to be, multiple powers used a turn, which I believe you can do now in the psychic phase, because you've got commanders that can cast 2 psychic powers. If I'm honest, or if I think what should happen, like Cybolt goes off on a 5, which is very easy to roll on 2d6. So you've almost automatically got the chance to kill someone every turn. And the Kill Team games I've played where there's psychers in, is definitely more injury rolls going on in them games than there is without psychers, because obviously with shooting, it's a lot harder to hit and wound than it would be in 40k, for instance, because you've got far more shots in 40k and you've got less modifiers stopping you be able to hit as well. So yeah, it seems that it's a bit too easy to get those more. I still think they should have a psychic phase, obviously. I just feel like maybe if Cybolt was a 7, it just might be a bit fairer for those armies that haven't got that psychic ability. But things balance out. Like, I know Necrons have got reanimation protocol, which really helps and stuff like that. So, and maybe the commanders will balance it more. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's a good expansion, and it's something, I'll still be playing Kill Team without commanders, and I'll play Kill Team with commanders to mix it up, give us that variety. So, someone said to me that if you have a commander, it replaces your leader. Now, I've read through the commander's book. I cannot see it anywhere that it says that. If you can see it, please let me know what page it is and what paragraph and where it is in the commander's rule book, because I just can't find it. It might be me just not reading it properly, but yeah, I can't see it. Because it says in there that if you take a commander, you can still have the same amount of specialists. Now, when you take the commander, you can then you can obviously take a specialism for him. So there's a load of new specialisms that you can take that are just for commanders. Okay, so you saw a couple of them in Rogue Trader. One was, I think, the strategist, and the other one was the strength specialism. So there's about another 8 in there. It's like loads of options. Really, really good. And I'm assuming you can still take a leader with a leadership specialism, because there's completely other specialisms that commanders can take, because it does still say you can't have 2 of the same. So they all have to be different still. So you can't sit there with 3 snipers in your kill team. But yeah, so I'm assuming you can still have a leader, because if you don't have a leader and it means you're only getting 1 command point unless you take a certain specialism on your commander, which means it really limits your commander and what specialisms you're going to take with them. But it would make sense that you still had a leader and you were still getting 2 command points, because now all of these things to do with your commander, like for instance the auras. So I'll take the Necron Overlord for example. He gives +1 to charge, advance, and hit rolls for anyone within 6 inches if you use the tactic. Okay, so that's not just an aura that he has all the time. You have to use a tactic, and it's for that phase. Could be for the battle round. It might be for the battle round actually. But yeah, so it's not just like you get a commander and he's buffing everyone around him constantly. You have to have the command points and you have to use them. So, you know, that's quite cool. I think it's better than it makes it more tactical, obviously, because they're called tactics, on what you're going to spend your command points on. Are you going to get your leader to buff everyone? Are you going to spend it on something where you can then take over the mind of one of your enemies and get him to shoot him his teammates? You know, so it becomes a lot more tactical with tactics. But I do feel like you would definitely need that leader in there to be giving you that extra tactic. So then if the commander had it as well, you could get up to 3 command points a turn, which would be really cool. But then there's some other really good specialisms as well. You might not want to put that one on your commander. But yeah, I think that it's, so far what I've read, obviously I haven't played any games with the commanders yet, but what I've read looks really promising and really good. Obviously you're going to go and need to read the stuff up yourself as well, but you can take up to 3 warlord traits. So there's a list of warlord traits in here. There's sort of, you can't, oh yeah, also you can't include more than 1 commander. Now it does say that, like, so you can't have, for instance, if you're a Drukhari, you can't have an Archon and a Succubus. Okay, it's just one or the other, because obviously then that would start becoming ridiculous and you just have a load of commanders. But obviously the commanders are meant to be powerful, like they are in 40k. I mean, I've had commanders in 40k that have changed the game for me, like a shield captain on a jet bike, who's my warlord, has ended up turning a game for me, or my demon prince has ended up turning a game for me. So, you know, they are meant to be strong, and that's what they're meant to do. And, you know, you've got to use your commander or your guys, and there should be a lot more of them if you haven't got a commander, to take them down. So you've got commander specific tactics, and there's loads of tactics for the new specialisms as well. And you've got all the tactic cards in here, and also there's 6 new psychic powers, which we will talk about. So in terms of the warlord traits, I'm just going to read some for you. So you've got Iron Will. This model automatically passes nerf tests. These all cost points. Okay, so you don't get these warlord traits for free. So your commander's already going to be, I mean, I haven't really seen a commander much under 40 points. So your commander's already going to be quite expensive. And obviously with this, a lot of the mission points have gone up. So you might be able to take 150, including the commander. Some of them are 200 points plus a commander for free. depending on what the mission is, whether it's narrative and that sort of thing. I always prefer to quantify, like I wouldn't want to do 200 points and then a commander for free, because for instance, you could take a Broodlord, which is, I think, at the very minimum about 93 points, or you could, and then you could have a Cryptek, which is like 44 points. It's a big difference. So yeah, there needs to be balance between those commanders as well, in my eyes, to make the game fun and fair. So yeah, you've got the automatically passes nerve tests. There's the Stoic Hero, ignore penalties to this model's hit rolls from flesh wounds it has suffered, which is really, really good. So you could suffer as many flesh wounds as you wanted, but you're going to continue hitting on your top profile, which is nice. Destined by Fate, roll a d6. When this model suffers a mortal wound and on a 6, the wound is not lost. So it does give you that 6 up, feel no pain against mortal wounds, which is nice, because obviously that's one of the things that I was saying is the mortal wounds are king in Kill Team, in terms of you just don't get that save, and you know, with the psychic phase they're quite easy to get off. Tactical Planner, at the start of the first battle round you gain D3 command points. Really, really good, especially if you're not taking the specialism where you get an extra command point for the commander. It gives you that chance to get a few extra command points, so you can use some of these tactics and really make a bit of an impact on the first turn if you wanted, or keep them for later in the game. So we're going to go on to talk about the psychic powers, because we've got basically 6 psychic powers that we're going to talk about, which there's still Cybolt, which is extra. Then you've got specific faction powers. So Tzeentch have got their powers of Doom Bolt and Death Hex. I think they might have had something else. So I know Chaos Spaceman's got Death Hex. So you've got specific powers, and I know like Adeptus Astartes or Death Watch, they've got Might of Heroes and things like that. So they're in the game, but there's also these new powers. So like there's one called Iron Arm. Iron Arm has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, then until the end of or until the start of the next psychic phase, add 2 to the Psyker's strength and toughness characteristics. And so it goes off on a 7. That's really, really strong. I mean, you could make your fairly mediocre warlord from like a 5 to a 7 toughness, and from a 5 to a 7 strength. I mean, he's then become like a bit of a beast. And then if you could get that off every turn, that would be horrific. Really strong. Maybe a little bit too low, is it, for a 7? Should be maybe an 8. Again, I feel like all of these psychic powers are a bit too strong, and I'm not sure you're necessarily paying enough points for a Psyker to be, for them to be this strong, you know. But so you've got Forewarning. Forewarning has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, then until the start of the next psychic phase, the Psyker has a 4+ invulnerable save. That's cool. Fire Shield has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, pick a friendly model within 8 inches of the Psyker and still the start of the next phase. That model counts as obscured, even if they are out in the open. It's nice, you know, you're giving that model, if you're trying to move it up, but you still want to, and there's no terrain, you can give it that -1 to hit, which is good. Psychic Shriek. Psychic Shriek has a warp charge value of 5. If manifested, select an enemy model within 12 inches of the visible to the Psyker. That model must immediately take a nerve test as if it were the morale phase. Nice. You know, if you know that he's got a low leadership and you could put him out, maybe he's there trying to take an objective, and if you if he becomes a shaken model, he's then going to fail getting that objective, fails getting victory points, could be really, really good in certain situations. Enfeeble has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select an enemy model within 12 inches. I don't think any of these are over 12 inches, which is good, because obviously it's a very small board. Select a model within 12 inches and visible to the psyker. Until the start of the next psychic phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls for the target model's close combat attacks. That's that could be pretty strong. Very, very good. And then we have Misfortune. Misfortune has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select any model within 12 inches and visible. Until the start of the next psychic phase, improve the AP characteristic of any weapon that targets that model by 1. So if you were shooting at it with a Tesla, well, it wouldn't be that because it's a psyker. So if you were shooting it with an Inferno bolt gun from the Rubik Marines, instead of -2, it would be -3. So, you know, it could be, again, it's nice. And then anything else that fires at it is also an extra 1 AP. So, yeah, it's nice. Really good. We talked about the aura tactics in terms of, you know, it happens. You have to pay to get that aura. It's not like in 40k where you just have the aura the whole time on the commander. So there's some nice new specialisms in here. There's Ferocity, Fortitude, which just makes your guy like more basically makes him more durable. You've got the Leadership Specialist, Logistics Specialist, Melee Specialist, Psyker Specialist, which adds 1 to this model psychic test, so then you're getting cyber off on a 4. Shooting Specialist, a Stealth Specialist, a Strategist Specialist, a Strength Specialist. So there's a lot of specialisms to choose from to give your commanders more uniqueness, which I think is really cool. There's 42, I believe, different commanders in the book. So we'll just go through a few. So you got the Primaris Captain, Lieutenant, Chaplain, and Librarian. Death Watch have Watchmaster, but they can also choose the Primaris Captain, Librarian, or Chaplain. Grey Knights have the Brotherhood Champion. I think that's all they get. The Astra Militar, we've got the Commissar or Lord Commissar, sorry, Platoon Commander, Company Commander, and Tempestor Prime. Mechanicus have the Tech Priest Engineer, Tech Priest Dominus. Astartes have the Exalted Champion and the Sorcerer. Death Guard have got 4. They've got the Foul Blightspawn, Tallyman, Biologus Putrefier, Plague, and the Plague Surgeon. Thousand Suns have Exalted Sorcerer and Zangor Champion. Zangor Shaman. The Asurani have the Autarch, Warlock, and Farseer. The Drukhari have the Archon, the Succubus, and the Homunculus. It was strange they put the Homunculus in. For the only reason is because with the Drukhari, you've only got the option of the Witches and the Cabal, which would be the Succubus and the Archon would be their leaders or warlords, commanders. But they have put the Homunculus in, so it makes me think at some point they probably are going to add the Rax, but who knows. So Harlequins have got the Troop Master, the Shadow Seer, and the Death Jester. I like the fact they've got quite a few options for commanders because they don't have much option in troops. So that's quite nice. The Necrons have the Overlords and the Cryptek. The Orcs have Warboss, Big Mech, and Painboy. The Tau have the Cadra Fireblade and the Ethereal. The Tyranids have a Tyranid Prime and a Broodlord. I believe the Broodlord, who's obviously very strong in Kill Team. Okay, so I was wrong when I said 96 points. His base level is 131 points. So he is a lot of points just for that commander. I mean, you're very rarely going to fit him in much else into a mission if you're playing 150 points. And to be honest, you're probably not going to play him unless it's like 200 points. Or if one is a mission where you're just using a commander and that's it. And then we've got the Gene Sealer Cult, who have the Magus, the Primus, the Patriarch, and the Acolyte Icon Ward. Yeah, so... And then it's got a load of missions in the Commander book as well. I hope this has been helpful. Like I said, I haven't gone into massive detail or everything. I just wanted to give you an overview of rule updates. Because if I go in too much depth, well, you're just going to have to read the book because you wouldn't remember it all anyway. But yeah, I think that it's a good expansion, and I think it's going to give us a little bit more variety. like I said, if you don't have to play commanders, so I think it's I'm still going to be playing Kill Team without commanders, and I'll be playing it with it just because it's cool. So thanks very much. Hope this has been helpful. I do intend to do a How to Play Kill Team campaign. So I'm going to talk through the campaign, how it works, how you do your command roster, how you can add to that and basically create that, and how it works going through the games. So we'll do a video on that and continue this How to Play series, or How to Play Kill Team series. So please like and subscribe, and check out Mad Gaming Terrain, our sponsors. They've got a really cool complex terrain with doors, detailing kits. It's awesome. Take a look at it, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.